Tallyo there, champs, and welcome to the show. So here it is, the Google Pixel smartphone, and this is the Pixel XL. There is also the Pixel, which is a smaller version there, and as you can see, it is overcast outside because of the color of the screen here, because this has a wallpaper called Aura or something, I don't know. It just updates by night and day, whatever. It's dynamic, that's what they call it. Anyway, so like the iPhone 7, I could probably talk about what this doesn't have. Like, it's not water resistant, no wireless charging, it has no SD card, it's storage there. Unlike some other manufacturers that throw every single thing into their phone, that's not how this is designed now. Would I like all those features? Oh yes, I would love all those features, but they're trying to go down the iPhone track and just make a premium device that does lots of little things well that adds up to perfection. Now, this is Google's first phone. It's the first Google branded phone. They have made the Nexus phones in the past. I would argue that it's not their first phone, but anyway, they say it's their first phone. This is made by HTC, even though Google designed this from head to toe. It still has HTC DNA in it. I'll get to that later. Now, this starts at $650 US and it goes all the way up to $870 US, and that's for the 128 gigabyte Pixel XL. And in Australia, this model here, 128 gigabyte Pixel XL, costs $1,419. Yes, you heard it right, and that's exactly the same price as the iPhone 7. I don't think Google are giving you value for money with this phone, because those prices are an absolute rip-off in my book. They're totally unjustified, and Google are not Apple. They haven't got a heritage of many decades going into last century of making iconic devices, raising the benchmark in all the product categories Apple has pretty much entered, and Apple are known for prestige products. When you think of Google, you don't think of prestige products, and this isn't something you get to choose and say, hey, I'm just going to charge as much as an iPhone, and hey, I'm a prestige product now. Well, if it was that easy, every company would do it. This is something that gets bestowed upon you. You become a Veblen good. Everybody wants you. The reason a Louis Vuitton handbag costs more than whatever generic handbag is because of their brand prestige. Google do not have a brand prestige, okay? They're sort of known as like a search engine to most people, and sort of like a goofy sort of company that name their operating systems after desserts, and they sort of do all these cool, you know, tech enthusiasts love all the stuff that Google does, but it's sort of, they're a little bit wacky, and, you know, I love Google, don't get me wrong, but they're not a prestige product handset maker, and you don't get to choose whether you're one. You have to earn the right to be one. So the price is just abhorrent, and really, when you think about it, the iPhone is better value because you're going to be able to sell the iPhone for a lot more in a year's time than you will the Pixel phone here. So on the right hand side, you have the power button, which has a textured feel in there. You have the volume rocker, you have antenna bands that you can see, but they're not ugly. And on the left hand side, you have the SIM tray. On the top there, you have a microphone jack. Ooh, look at that microphone, baby. And on the bottom, you have the USB-C and the microphone and speaker there. On the back, you have the fingerprint sensor. That's where I prefer it. And you have the camera up there and some sensors and a dual tone LED flash. Getting on to specs, and I've got a rant here with the specs. It has a 1080p display on the Pixel, and on the Pixel XL it has a QHD display. They are both Super AMOLED displays there. Comes in at 168 grams, 8.5 millimeters thick. Comes with Android Nougat 7.1. It has a Snapdragon 821 processor. Now, this is the standard Snapdragon. As you can see written on my hand here, the standard Snapdragon comes in at 2.15 gigahertz, and the premium version is 2.35 gigahertz. Comes with 4 gigabytes RAM, a 530 Adreno GPU, Gorilla Glass 4. Why it's not Gorilla Glass 5, I'm just lost for words there. A 2700 milliamp hour battery on the Pixel, and on the Pixel XL you get a 3450 milliamp hour battery. So you get the larger battery in the big one, of course. As I've just had that rant about the price, if you're going to charge these price, Apple give you the best processor they have. It's super fast, it's the best processor in the class. But Google, they don't give you the premium Snapdragon, they give you the lower clocked one. Is there much difference between the two? Probably not, but there has been reports of the XL lagging on some games. I haven't noticed that. It may be dependent on the game's resolution or so on. So if you had the premium version of the Snapdragon, maybe that wouldn't happen. And also Gorilla Glass 4, you can get Gorilla Glass 5 now. If you're going to charge top tier prices, give us the top tier products. Give us everything the best. Do not skimp, do not cheapskate. That is unacceptable. I don't know where they come up with these prices and where they come up with these decisions and why they come up with these decisions. But anyway, that's about it for my rant. Other than this phone is perfect. So end the review there. No, but that's about it. That's about all I've got to complain about. And now we'll get on to the good stuff, I suppose. So it's design. I think it is a beautiful phone. A lot of people say it's generic. I disagree there. On the front, yes, it does sort of look generic. It does look like the old iPhone. But on the back, there is no way you can mistake that for another phone on the back there. This has this sort of paint dip look, so it looks like it's been dipped in paint. Sort of like a pop art feature there. It's like decorated. Completely unique. I don't know where people are coming up with this generic term for this. I don't know any phone that looks like this. It is subtle, but people have asked me, what is that white panel there? They don't know. But the thing is, it is distinguishable from every other smartphone just for that panel there. I do understand when you look at other parts of the phone, it does look generic, but it's a nice piece of milled aluminium there. It does have a bevel on the side. It makes it easier to grip than the iPhone. You have this unique glass panel here. I will actually be talking about the camera. A lot of people have been complaining that you lose contrast and you get a sort of rainbow effect when you take photos into the sun, and I'll explain why that happens. But it's a beautiful design. It's every bit as good as the iPhone, I believe, in design, and I do believe it is a little bit unique. So I'm a great fan of this design. It's beautiful, it's classy, it's understated, it's elegant, and that is my style, and that's how I like my phones. And it's very iPhone-esque in terms of being very elegant, understated and classy. So I guess that's where Google think they can charge that sort of price, but suffice to say, I love the design of it. Now it does feel a little bit chunkier than the iPhone, and I do not like the chin and forehead. It's tall. That's HTC's DNA. I've had HTC phones before and they're always very tall, and it would be much better if you could just slim down those chin and forehead there. It's just a lot of wasted space, but other than that, it's simply gorgeous. The speaker on it is very loud and very clear. The clarity is very good. It's not a very meaty speaker, but when I listen to podcasts or the radio on this phone, it's very loud. I can hear it crystal clear, and for music it's not great. It would be great if they actually put the speakers on the front, considering this is made by HTC, this phone, and they could have had some input and front-facing speakers there. The speaker is just average like every other smartphone, and you will end up cupping it at some stage. So software is where this phone really stands out. Okay Google, when's Manchester United's next game?
Manchester United's next game is on Friday at 5 a.m, where they will play Fenerbahce.
Okay Google, who is Manchester United's coach?
Here is information from worldfootball.net.
See, a lot of the problems here is it's catered to Americans, and I understand that it's an American phone, but if you're going to release stuff worldwide, if I asked it who the coach was of the Super Bowl winning team, it's going to tell me. But it is conversational. Okay Google, who is Manchester United's highest paid player?
According to Total SPORTEK, United's highest paid player is Paul Pogba.
Okay Google, when did he join Manchester United?
This is the top result.
You see what I mean? Premier League, it's the biggest league in the world. How can it not know these sort of things? Okay Google, oh, you decided to work, that's nice.
Sorry, I don't understand.
So basically I'll say that without a doubt, this is the best assistant. It's better than Siri, better than Cortana. But there are problems. It is conversational, but it only has a limited amount of knowledge there. So pretty much mainstream things it will know. I don't know how it doesn't know about the Premier League, and it gives me a search. For example, okay Google, who won the Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl was won by the Denver Broncos.
Okay Google, this is my problem. You have to repeat yourself 100 times. Okay Google, Okay, Google, who is the coach?
Gary Kubiak is head coach of the Denver Broncos.
Now, how did it not give me a search like that for Manchester United, the biggest club in the world, along with Real and Barca? It's just ridiculous. Also, the problem with these search assistants is you have to be in a pristine environment to use them. If you're in the car, too much noise, radio, car noise, traffic noise, you're in the house even, watching TV, too much noise, out and about, too much noise, classroom, too much noise. Everywhere you go is pretty much too much noise to use this. When I was out and about yesterday, I even put it up to my mouth about 2 inches away and it couldn't recognise anything going on. So there's a long ways to go with this assistant here, but this is definitely the best assistant. And as I said before, this comes with Android Nougat, so Nougat or whatever you want to call it. In my eyes, best software out there, best operating system. It's beautiful. You have a different app drawer. You have to slide up to use it. You have rounded icons there. I love the design of it. And you can also just press on the assistant here down the bottom, the home button, long hold on it, and it will start listening to what you're saying. Okay. Also, you have pretty much, which is like 3D touch on the iPhone. You can just long hold on a icon and it will give you extra options there. So I love Android Nougat. For me, it's the best operating system out there. I love it better than iOS, and this is one thing that I love about this phone and makes me want to use it over any other phone. And I think the little subtle upgrades of this compared to the Nexus, the Android version that are on, say, the 6P, it's just lots of little things adding up that make this a lot better and a lot better experience than the Nexus 6P. It's just tiny little things. You can't put your finger on it, but you just know it's just lots of little things done well add up to a much greater experience there. Now, battery life, awesome on this. I actually said in my iPhone 7 review that the battery life on the iPhone 7 is the best out of any flagship phone. Well, the battery life on this is actually better. Now, I don't know what magic Apple do with their battery. Their standby time is phenomenal. But when you start using the actual iPhone and taking photos on that, the battery starts to burn a lot faster than it does on this. I was taking 15 minutes of videos, like 50 photos, email, YouTube, web surfing, used it all day, and I got 4.5 hours screen time. Now, usually when I use my camera a lot, I don't get nowhere near that screen time. Is it as good as the 4,000 milliamp battery Android phones? No, it's not as good as that, but anything over 4.5 hours screen on time during heavy use is top-notch battery, and it's actually better battery than the iPhone 7. Definitely my use scenario. Performance, this thing games like a champ, does everything you throw at it. I never experienced any lag. It's super fluid. Everything opens fast. Camera opens so fast. It's unbelievable, and you will have no complaints with performance there, and it's one of the best performing Android phones there, and it feels every bit as snappy as the iPhone 7. You will not notice any difference there, although the iPhone 7 may load up some games faster, as people have shown, but you will not notice any difference in performance and speed in general usage, real world usage with this compared to the iPhone 7. Camera has a f.2 rear facing camera, 12.3 megapixels, can film 4K. It is actually the best performing camera in DxO's testing. Now, is the camera as good as the iPhone? Well, technically speaking, it has the best sensor in it. We all know that software is a very important part of a phone. And I would say that this camera here, I'm going to show you lots of images. It has great low light performance, although you have to be careful not to shake a lot. It does have slower shutter speeds because it has the aperture of 2.0 versus 1.8 on the iPhone there, and it doesn't have optical image stabilization. But in daylight conditions, this is pretty much the best camera I've used on a smartphone. Some of the photos do look a little bit artificial because of that HDR effect, but you really get a lot of dynamic range, and the colors and sharpness is great. I will do a more in-depth camera comparison compared to the iPhone 7, and I'll show a lot more about the camera in another video. So it's definitely in the top 3. I think it's probably the best camera, but there is one major flaw in this camera, and that is the back here. So basically what happens is this glass panel essentially becomes the outer lens element of the camera, because the actual lens element is behind this glass panel. So what that means is when you take photos in the sun or around a 45-degree angle into the sun, you will get ghosting, you'll get rainbow effect, and I'll show some images there. And that's all because what's happening is, I'll just bring in my prop here. What's happening is, let's pretend this is the glass panel on the back of the Pixel phone, and this is the lens element. So the glass panel is over the lens element, right? So what happens is the light goes through here, it hits here, bounces off, and then hits the filter again. So in the case of the Pixel phone, what happens is the light goes through this glass panel, it hits the front lens element, and a bit of light bounces back, and then it hits this glass panel again. And that light bouncing around there gives you that rainbow effect, it gives you that lack of contrast. Now every camera does this to some degrees. Now a lot of expensive cameras have nano coatings and stuff to try and reduce this, but pretty much with any phone on the camera you will get that to some degree. But this one is particularly bad when you take photos in the sun, and I think it's all down to this design with this glass panel virtually going in front of the front lens element there. So it's just something that Google have to look out for in the future when designing a phone, and you can get around it, you just have to work your angles. But if you take photos directly into the sun, you're going to get that effect. So overall, price aside and the little skimps they made on the Snapdragon processor and the Gorilla Glass 4 there, this phone is nearly perfection. It is absolutely gorgeous. Its operating system is, in my opinion, has great battery life, it has a great screen, and on the screen the display is gorgeous. When you see your content on this, you're going to love it. A Super AMOLED display, it does make things look oversaturated. I do prefer the look of the iPhone in terms of calibration and not being so saturated, but I went into developer options, I turned it to the sRGB mode, and it's a lot better. So this XL has the extra resolution of being a QHD versus the 1080p. Well, obviously this is the better screen. Text is super sharp, great vibrance, great clarity, and you can see this outside in daylight. I don't even have to turn the brightness up. It's a super display, and it's really one of the best parts of the phone, and I have nothing bad to say about it. It's almost perfection. You add up all the little things it does well, and it almost equals perfection. I think it's the best smartphone on the market at the moment, along with a lot of other people that have same sort of opinion. I don't agree with the pricing of it, but without the price tag, I think this is the best phone out there. And you won't be able to put a finger on why you love it so much, but it's just all those little things add up, and it's just a great phone and the best phone I've ever used. So that's it. I'd really like to thank you guys for watching. I know it was a long one, but I wanted to make sure I said everything I needed to say about it. If you like this review, give me a thumbs up there. That'll be great. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. I have lots more tech content coming soon. And as always, guys, tally ho.